How long will the NFT bear market last? Let's jump in and check out the stats when it comes down to volume and trading, as well as the Ethereum price, to see the correlation and see how long we will be in this bear market for. Now, first up, I want to say this is not financial advice. You shouldn't ape into everything that you see. I'm just kind of breaking this down to give you a little bit of information so you can better analyze how you actually want to move in this space. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to jump over onto Nansen. Now, this is a great tool. There's got a whole bunch of stats and statistics here right at your fingertips. I've actually got a tutorial on how to use Nansen up here. There is a link down below, an affiliate link. So if you click that and do get something, I do get a kickback. But when we have a look at what is happening in the NFT market, volume per week, we can see that there was huge volume back in September, that bull run there. Then we had the sort of January bull run up here, peaked out there. Then we had the other side here. So we can see that there have been 3 points in time when we've kind of seen, so OpenSea is this blue, where we've seen a very huge amount of volume per week in the space. Now, what you will also notice is that after that, it has been a downwards kind of trend from there. Now, what I want to do here is have a look and see how many weeks between bull runs it was to see the weeks down, the weeks up. This will then give us an indication of the past two that we've seen about where we could be sitting. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 9th week we were down low. Then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we'll kind of 10, 11, 12, but you could say that after that 9, we were kind of in that bull run territory, and that kind of makes sense if you were here around January. So when we have a look at this, we've got essentially 9 down, then we've got 9 up, and I'll write that down here just so we've got a little bit of an indication. Now, after this point, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 down, and then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we kind of had a little bit of this run up here. Now, I think that the other side drop, that could be a very hard indication to kind of go off, because people knew that the other side drop was coming up. People were liquidating a whole bunch, hence why I think that we did have quite a lot of kind of low volume here. People were indicating that we're going to run up here. This wasn't necessarily a bull run like we saw in January, but the fact that there was a lot of movement in the market and blue chips did move quite a lot around this period, which was nice to see. So we can see that we had the kind of 9 down, 9 up, and then we also had sort of the 4 down, 6 up until we've got a little bit of fun there. So that was 4 and 6. So what I kind of want to touch on here is if we have a look at the price of Ethereum and where this kind of coincides with a few key points, I think this will give us an idea of what we're actually going to do. So we can see here that essentially the first week of September, that kind of indicated the down. So what we can do here is we're going to kind of go from the Ethereum price from the sort of 30th of August all the way down to the 1st of November. So when we have a look here, we can see that the price on the sort of 30th of August, it was at all-time, well, not all-time highs, but it kind of reached these peaks again. We ended up having sort of peaks that reached prior peaks there. What we then see here is that there was actually a pull down right there. Now, what is interesting to note is Ethereum actually did rise up to new all-time highs as we were kind of hitting again. So at this point in time, what we actually did is this period here was downwards when we get to the NFT market. Then the NFT market kind of had a bit of a recovery when the price of Ethereum went down. Now you can speculate here and say that people were kind of making money off ETH, and then once it kind of dropped off and kind of ETH wasn't exciting anymore, people were then moving into NFTs. You can then also kind of debate fiat values when it comes to the price of projects and people grabbing stuff at a discount. But the idea is that it took us from here to here to get into the depths of what we would kind of say the bear market. Then we had a run all the way up to sort of this January period, which is around here. And that's when we kind of sort of peaked out at the bottom. So what we can see here is that when we actually had the run up and the run down, then we had the run back up, now the run back down. So very loosely put, what we can kind of see here is that when ETH is going down, NFTs go up. And then when kind of ETH is going up, NFTs are going down. Now, I know that this little portion here, this is when we kind of had that turnaround, like that could a little blow off in that sort of August part here. So there is maybe a slight delay there. So what this should indicate is the fact that when we actually kind of get some of these kind of weeks that are low and we establish that bottom when it comes down to Ethereum, we may actually turn around when we get to a bull market when it comes to the NFT market. So having a look here, we can see here that let's close this up. We can see that we've had a second week down. We may need a third or a fourth to kind of get these lows when it comes to Ethereum before we even have a chance at going back up. Now, what I will say is the fact that we had 9 here and 4 here, and we've only had 2 so far. So I think that we still have around at least 2 weeks before we can kind of see or establish a bottom before we end up finding a low before we can kind of move back out. Now, this may not be the hopium that you would like to kind of be drinking from, but the idea is that we are going to see a bottom have to establish first for there to be a turnaround and a run back up. Now, what I want to do is touch on the users per week and kind of show you the trends and trajectories of what's actually happening within the NFT space, so you can then see if there is progression overall, because I feel like that will then also help you weather the storm metaphorically when it comes down to the NFT market. Now, these are the users per week. Now, what we can see here is that every time that there's a run up, there's a little bit of a drop off. So there's a run up, drop off, and then we've kind of had a little bit of a run up. We're having a drop off here. We can see that the max amount of users that came through was in that January bull run. Now, what we can see here is that because we had all these kind of crazy amounts of users buying and minting, so the buying on the secondary market is the blue and the minting is the yellow. What I can see here is that we will kind of wrap off May at around this point. I think we kind of will see it kind of bounce around. Nothing will kind of hit over this 200,000 users per week mark. Then once we kind of have these 2 or 3 weeks down, it'll kind of start to zigzag it way up. And then when we do hit up a bunch of kind of buys on OpenSea above that 250,000 users, we know we will be in a good situation. What you can see here is that it usually does sort of go up in quite a linear progression. There isn't too much of a pullback. Like there was a mini pullback on this bar here, but other than that, it is quite linear with the growth week on week when you do hit a bull run. So it's not like we're going to be in a situation where you're not going to know there's a bull run just like the next day. What I think will happen is the fact that we will start to see days on days, these weeks on weeks kind of putting in higher highs, and then it'll just kind of indicate that we are running up. Now, when we go over the users per hour, we can't actually take this on a kind of take this data for a long-term bull market play, but the idea with this is it shows that we kind of are having a very steady run. About a week ago, we were seeing a decline, but the fact is, and it was sitting at around this sort of 1,000 to 2,000 mark, but the fact is now we're kind of sitting at around this 2,500 to 3,000 mark. Does show that there's more users back on the platforms and actually kind of operating, which is nice to see. When we have a look at the transactions per week, which is different from the users because these are the amount of transactions that are happening, there could be sort of the same amount of users performing multiple transactions. What we can notice here is we've got this, it's very low. This sort of week, we have just started though, it is quite low. What we will notice is we can't take this bar into account until we've actually had a close. So we need to kind of see this out. So we take the last one here. We can see that the lows that we're currently experiencing are the highs that were in that sort of August, September run. Now this is at around that 300,000 mark. With the secondary market, we kind of get those blow off tops around January at around that 500,000 mark. So you can see that there is almost maybe a 30 to 40% increase. So it means that you can actually see a bunch more kind of going up when we kind of hit similar bull run territory. So when we start to see the transactions per week up around that sort of 450 to 500,000 mark, we are going to know that we're in a good position. Now, I don't think that that is going to just happen in 1 week. I think it will take 2 or 3 weeks to kind of start building up, and then we'll be like, okay, we're in a good position and running up, and there's some strength in the market. Now, the reason I keep touching on the OpenSea volume for bull run and not necessarily touching on mints, I do think mints are important and great, and that's kind of what I participate in mostly. But for a lot of the action to happen, you need people buying off the secondary market, and that's speculation. Without the secondary market buying, people are just going to be sort of paying off and not really kind of putting money back into the system, because if someone is selling an NFT on OpenSea, they're usually taking back. They're a trader, which means that they're going to go back into either mints or more secondaries, so it keeps throwing that money around. Now, when we have a look at the transactions per hour, similar to the users per hour, so not much you can take away from there. Now I'm going to be touching on the wallet activity per week. What I want to kind of point out here is the fact that this sort of aqua tealy type color, this is the buying and the selling is the blue. We can see here that overall, apart from these peaks, it is essentially a long ride up. We did have the sort of blow off bull run there. We had the blow off bull run there. So what I can see here is that even though we are quite low right here when it comes down to the buying aspect, I can see this sort of stepping its way up and then doing quite well, because the trend is just on, it's just going up. It seems somewhat parabolic when you have a look at just how many people are coming in. So it shows that we just need one singular catalyst around here, which then should bring up more people into the space, a more wallet activity happening. Now, I understand that there are going to be people out there that have multiple wallets. I've got multiple wallets, so these numbers could be skewed. But the fact is, if you've got a dormant wallet and you're not looking to kind of buy a bunch of stuff, you're not going to be keeping that wallet active. You're going to be using 1 or 2 wallets if the market is down and low. Now, some key numbers that I want to point out here is the fact that we've got that around sort of 225 mark for that period around that September mark, when we got up between sort of 400 and 450 for the January bull run. So I can see that if we get the sort of wallets and activities per week up to around that sort of 350 to 400 mark, or the 400 to 450 mark, I think we're going to be very healthy and very good. And then just to kind of reassure you, when you actually have a look at the kind of numbers, you almost need to have a bit of a down to then have the up. You need a down to have an up. So the fact is, we're already in a down. We should see it for another 2 or 3 weeks. Then we should start to see an up. And the ups are quite linear in what they're doing. There's like a down bar there, and there's like an up bar here. But other than that, there are a few outliers, but overall it usually is up. So once we kind of do have a 2-week period, and we'll see that by having the fact that we had 2 weeks here on wallet activities, we had 3 weeks here, a 2 to 3 week period, we'll know that we are most likely in a position to then run back up. So the idea that we can keep a look on these charts, see when the 2 downs are, and then we can hopefully get the run up. Now, the other thing I want to touch on right now is the buyers per day. And we can actually see the crazy kind of sort of FOMO in the market. Well, not FOMO, like the crazy kind of hysteria in the market, especially the NFT market. When we saw the fact that returning buyers of the blue, this was the big crash day on Ethereum. And we can see another day here. And these were the first time buyers. People just weren't wanting to be in the space. They didn't want to be around it. They just didn't log on. They didn't buy anything or do anything. After that, we've actually had a bit of a run up, and the numbers are sitting at sort of what I would consider the what was a sort of a resistance in that September mark. Then once it busted through the resistance, these are the first time buys. The fact is we had a lot in that sort of January, February mark. I think once we kind of get through this mark again in terms of 10,000 buys per day, like first time buyers, that will then draw in a few more people. We need that catalyst, but then that usually has that big run up that we kind of have here in terms of especially volumes, activities, things like that. With returning buyers, the idea that the returning buyers runs up, we do need to have these downs, runs back up, downs, ups, downs. This is almost an anomaly when it comes down to it. This is just fear in the market. But the idea is that there is just going to be more up afterwards because this is just how it goes. So currently, right now, there is a lot of sort of fear, uncertainty, the bull market, hey, NFT's dead, what's happening? The idea that this kind of gives us an idea that we are going to see this for minimum another sort of 2 to 3 weeks, but we could go up as far as another 2 months. We're looking at sort of previous cycles and how they work. And just to kind of recap how we kind of got to that indication is the fact that we had 9 down, 9 up, 4 down, 6 up to get out. So the idea that I do see us and the fact that we've already been 2 down, we are going to need to see another 2 to sort of 7 weeks and give us that sort of 2 weeks to 2 months when it comes down to the length of the bear market. Now, I think this is the perfect time to kind of be very considerate with the funds that you have. Position yourself into a place where you can actually make good decisions, good moves, buy up some blue chips if that's what you're looking for, or just sit out on the side and kind of build up your network and relationship and see what you can actually do, because this is the perfect time for everyone in the space to actually kind of do very well. Because what will happen, and what I noticed and a lot of people have noticed, is that November was a crazy period. Then this January run was just absolutely insane. The idea is that the longer the down we have, the better the up we're going to have. And the idea is, I'm not saying I want it to be down for too far or too long, but if we have a very long extended down, I'm going to be very excited for the run up that we do have. So that is my breakdown on the NFT bear market and how long it will run. If you found value in this video, please consider hitting up that subscribe button. And while you're down there, also hit up the like button. As always, it's been a pleasure having you with me. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.